Welcome to Fandoms, a show from every fan's point of view, brought to you by the Nerd Initiative Network. Here's your hosts, Tony and Michael.
All right, well, welcome to Fandoms, where each week we try to just talk about some different aspect of nerddom, as well as like relate over something we enjoy or talk about something new. And of course, this evening, we're going to be talking about something that everyone should at least be a bit familiar with, something that almost everyone loves, and that is the thing we all love called Lego. And so we have a special guest with us, Kofi Sam, and we're going to go bring him on. And Kofi, would you just go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. So, hey, everyone, I'm Kofi. I work with the Lego group. Thanks for the photo. That was me at Toy Fair after a very long marathon. I think it might have been. No, that wasn't the last day.
Very dapper, handsome man right there. That's all I'm gonna say.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a good time at Toy Fair. We get to dress up, and so that was probably like the day before the last day, because the last day we get to dress down because it's like, let's get out of here. So yeah, I've been with Lego for almost 8 years now, and it's been an incredible journey and definitely a fun place to work if you get the opportunity. Definitely well worth it.
So I will add to what Tony said a little bit. Kofi is one of our favorite people, bar none. And so like my wife's commenting right now, and I think this shows a little bit of like the human heart side of it. Like my wife loves everyone who knows Kofi loves him, and I love the Lego tie idea. I think that's genius, actually. So yeah, just wanted to say that from a personal perspective. Like he is one of the best quality human beings, smart, talented. I'm gonna make you blush a little bit if possible, but just also just like a fun, great guy. So yeah, I wanted to give you that title. Easily one of our favorite people.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. I want to share this little story real quick. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but a couple months ago, everybody, my son and I were on Good Morning America, and we were talking. They surprised us with a premiere trip, and they were talking in the pre-roll about my son and about his heart condition, and we were leaving the studio where we were filming and heading to the airport, and I got a phone call from Kofi just saying, if you ever need to talk, if you ever need someone, like that's the kind of person. Like it wasn't, hey, I'm super excited about, it was very much, reaching out, making sure that I'm okay, my son's okay. Like that's just the kind of person you are. And I don't care if you didn't want me to share that. It just speaks a lot to the kind of person you are.
No, I thank you. Yeah, I care about people as much as, I think as much as you can humanly possible, and then a little bit more, just because, the world would be a pretty sad place if there were no people left, right? Probably better off in terms of the environment, right? But
with AI coming up, we're probably all going to get killed by the bots anyway, so I've been saying
that's why the aliens have come back to save us, right?
Yeah. Okay, so getting into it, right? Like we're gonna talk Lego. I basically twisted Tony's arm to add some history into these segments because, like he said, Fandoms is, it's gonna be a wild ride because me, Kofi, and Tony can probably talk for hours on end. We want to give the audience a takeaway, right? And no pressure, Kofi. This is not an exam. This is not like how much do you know about Lego? Like if you asked me about other things like ABC News or as Tony mentioned, Good Morning America, I would know nothing. And I used to work there, and then or like now TD Bank or whatever. But I just thought it was interesting, and I thought like it was cool to kind of get a takeaway. And starting off, I kind of knew, but didn't know Lego's a 90-year-old company. And I'm always kind of taken aback by the fact that it started with like wood toys. And again, this goes to show that like no matter what you start doing, you can always like adapt and change. And also apologies, Kofi, for blocking your face.
No, it's totally
if
cool.
you want to, let's make this work. Let's switch me with Kofi. That way his handsome face is now in the top right and I'm the one getting blocked. But I loved that. And then the second thing I will go to, and we can kind of like talk about it. It took about 20 years for like the official brick to come into fruition. There was a prototype before that. 5 years before, it was kind of like the forerunner for it. But I think that is really, really cool. And again, it also gives you, I think it's a parallel to, I always talk about Stan Lee's story about how he didn't hit big at Marvel till he was in his 40s, which is an inspiration for some of us on here that are of that age that still don't feel completely fulfilled in what they're doing. And so I think that's really interesting to see the evolution, and obviously things move faster now, but I thought that was fascinating. And so we can get into minifigs and stuff afterwards, but just a little bit of history lesson.
Really quick to add to that, right before the wooden toy, and this is something that I think is near and dear to every team member's heart at Lego, is before that, the family's business was carpentry. And he owned his own business in Billund, where the headquarters is. And actually, if you go to Billund, you can, I believe the old, it's become like the teddy bear factory or something like that now. But so he owned this carpentry business, and I guess they were bumping up against rough times, and he was faced with the choice of shutting down his factory and putting everyone that he employed out of work, or figuring out something else for his company to do.
Wow.
And that's where he came up with the idea of wooden toys. And I mean, it's something that we understand as employees, but it's something that's definitely passed down from generation to generation. Even when we've had some not so great times at Lego, it's always been about the team members first. Even when they've had to make difficult decisions about team members, it's okay, well, here's how we're going to support you. And, sometimes we find some of those team members coming back in a different capacity. There's no action that, especially that affects team members internally, that is taken lightly, without considering what the impact is going to be on our team members. And
that's cool.
Sometimes it's a difficult decision because either way they're going to be impacted, but then you have to start thinking about what's the greater good for the company, but how do you help and foster and retain as much as possible. So that's, it started from a carpentry business to, moving into wooden toys, and then adopting the Lego name and going on from there. And, I'm sure, I don't know if you have this in your slides, so I'll let you finish your slides. And if you don't have it, then I'll let you, I'll tell you.
Well, the name means play well, right? So it's, play well, but then also in Latin it means put together, which, so like talk about multi-layered, definition behind it. And the last, I guess the question I would ask is there a better invention? And I know it was voted toy of the century, so it's probably this is kind of a rhetorical question. Was there ever a better invention in the world of toys or things that are fun than the Lego brick? Because the like you said, the it's endless possibilities. And so I guess it's a question, but
think of it this way, like even now with modern building, they're finding cost-effective ways to do something that's similar to what Lego is doing to build, efficient houses, where they've got these large bricks that are just they're plug and play. So I mean, imagine what they've done. And I have to go back and say this with what Kofi said. Could you imagine if the company would have decided, we're just going to shut the doors, that we don't care about. We don't care, we care about you, but we don't care enough about you. Because how many companies nowadays would just close their doors, lay off their workforce, and not be concerned? And just imagine where we would be if they would have never done that and gotten in the.
Well, how many times did Marvel almost fold? We've talked about this in other shows and whatnot. Like, obviously, we had the 70s was first, and I reading more and diving more into what Roy Thomas did with Star Wars and how Stanley didn't want to be, for those who don't know, basically they helped launch Star Wars before the movie came out. They did these comics that were kind of little snippets of the movie, and it had never been done like that before. And it revived Marvel. And then obviously the 80s and 90s, and there's been a lot of things that have revived Marvel. So, I mean, the MCU probably 3 or 4 times could have not happened if like Marvel had just folded and been like,
well, even the 90s almost was the end of it. And it took a lot of promises, it took a lot of investment with Toy Biz and things like that. And again, you go back to toys, like toys kind of like saved the day a little bit. But yeah, I mean, just imagine. I think what's interesting is like we have a segment from Mickey Cell Phone Wallet Keys, and he kind of goes through the history of everything, and even talks about like the things where even as they were progressing, like Lego had a couple missteps, but then were able to recover from those and just keep moving forward, building on to what they did and finding what worked. And it's always got to be that forward thinking of like, okay, this didn't work, let's move on to the next thing. And I think that speaks volumes as a company.
And Kofi, you were going to say something before I terribly interrupted you and went on this tangent. Well, sorry.
Oh no, it's totally cool. So I know she didn't have it in your slide. So the idea, and it's in some of the naming convention. So it translates into the best isn't good enough, right? And that's the model that we essentially live by and operate by, right? Like the best still isn't good enough. So it's how do you make it better than the best? And every day, it's a challenge, and sometimes we meet it, sometimes we don't, but we don't stop trying. And I think that was, that's definitely something big that the family lives by is, how do you make something better? And just know, because it's better, it still isn't good enough. Even if it's the best thing out, it can be better. So, yeah. Okay. And with those parameters, it's a fun place to work at. I mean, incredible.
And then obviously the last thing I put up all earlier when we were talking, and then I'll stop with the history lesson. But that was cool too. Like the minifig launching in '79, which obviously talk about the best isn't good enough. You got the brick, people are building stuff. There's sets, there's kits, and then they took it to the next level with like, with themes and products, and then the minifigs. I also didn't know that it wasn't until like, I think it was like I was reading back that it was like the 2000s, or you would know more than me. It's escaping me now, but that it was only recently when the faces went away from being all yellow to having like, we've seen the expressions, we've seen like and I love the spin faces where like, if it's like Superman, it's like regular, and then it spins and it's like Clark Kent or whatever. That's fascinating too. I just love learning about like the history of like dynamic game changing companies like that. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. And then and another cool thing to think about is, I think it was early 2000s when Star Wars was introduced, because we celebrated the 20th anniversary of Lego Star Wars like last year, I want to say, the year before that. But those minifigures were all yellow, and then they shifted to actual flesh tone. So like if you're a Star Wars aficionado, especially with like Lego toys, you probably have some sets that have like Luke and Leia as a yellow minifigure. Like, so imagine like current Luke and Leia, like minifigure form, but just all yellow with like the hair and everything. And, and then it became, a flesh tone apparatus. And it's interesting. And then you think about like, if you still have those, what is it on secondhand, third-hand market?
I was going to ask you that as a collector, because I know you visit Brick Economy, you know about this, and again, like you live it, right? And so I was doing some like research. We were actually all of us were texting, and I was doing research and looking at some, like, I mean, again, the original Star Wars sets, and there's like, you know, Eiffel Tower and this and that. Like, yeah, that's nuts. Like, I can't imagine the value of a yellow face Luke and Leia.
Well, it's like what is it? I have a Pod Racer Anakin.
Okay.
I think that one's yellow, and we were just going through a yard sale, and we found the pieces for it. And I've got parts of an Obi-Wan that's yellow, and I can't find all of it yet, but I'm looking for it. So.
But even there's even value in those pieces that you have. So hopefully you didn't get rid of them.
Oh no.
I know,
you know, unless my son stole them
right now.
Yeah, unless my son stole them, because what he's been doing is he's been grabbing, like, we have like pick-a-brick cups from the Lego store, and I have a bin full of Legos, and I put them all together, and he's been coming down secretly and filling up the pick-a-brick cup and running upstairs with it. So
that's awesome.
Wow.
That's really cool. With what I do, it's sometimes hard not to let the secondhand market like creep into your mind when you're like, hey, we should probably do this next year. Or sometimes they approach with, hey, we kind of want to do this thing over. And I'm like, wow, can we change part of it so we don't alienate the people that collected it for the last 30 years? And so it's always interesting being in those conversations. And like, well, what's your basis? And then I pull a Brick Economy. I'm like, look, it's, you know, going for this. Like, you know, should we, you know, really dilute that value or whatever? And like a lot of the time, like they're like, we can't really look at that. We kind of have to do what works. Yeah, but you can just change it just a tad bit, just a little bit. Just make it a tad bit different. Add a brick or something, right? Like the Taj Mahal. The original Taj Mahal had, I forgot how many pieces, and then when it was re-released, it had like one extra piece or something, and it was noted on the box that, you know, it was like 12. You know, like 3,451 as opposed to 3,450 or something like that. So yeah.
Tony, to answer you, well, you didn't ask the question, but I'm going to give you the answer no matter what. I'm looking at it too from 2002. It's really cool. The yellow face Anakin is worth $2,560. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm messing with you. Tony's like, oh, I'm gonna get.
I'm like, wait. I'm like, no. I need to run to the bank real quick.
But I will say, no, like, to that point though, you mentioned the Obi-Wan and stuff like that. I'm looking at like, so 2002 retired, which is retired is like the key word, right? Retail $699, value now over 100. So it says growth is 1,200%, which is insane. So it's probably worth a solid well over $100 for if it's the original, which is really, really cool.
And for 5 pieces.
Well, it's fun. Like, and there's another one, because I know like Lego doesn't have the license for this anymore. We talk about SpongeBob, and my kid loves SpongeBob, and we found in the set like a couple of SpongeBob and Patrick pieces, and I'm like, okay, he can play with them, but we got to keep track of them, because at some point I'm sure those are gonna be worth something. So
yeah, it's there's a story time. So
I love story time.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to think how I can craft this where, you know, it won't be an issue. There's a Yoda minifigure that has a particular T-shirt on for a Times Square launch. This is before I joined the company, when we had the giant X-Wing built in Times Square. I think maybe ABC might have covered it. Like, we had like master builders come down, and everybody built like a larger brick that went into a larger board that made this giant X-Wing. And at the event, apparently we were handing out these Yodas. These minifigure Yodas that had a particular shirt on that you can find in any one of those New York City tourist attraction stores. You can probably guess what it says on it. And we had extra, according to some people at the office, and we had like buckets, and we were just giving them out in the office, and people were just like taking 2 or 3 and like not thinking anything of it. if you look up the Yoda minifigure on BurgerCon, right, I think it's going for like either $3,000 or $6,000, and it was given
Oh
away
my
for free.
Oh my goodness,
lord!
you have like a
And there were
handful of
buckets of
them.
it.
Oh my goodness.
Hold on,
I
let
know.
me
I
see.
just
Can we just
I
go
want to
clean your offices?
Wow! Hold on. Wow. So,
yeah.
oh wow, and it's also really cool if you're in. So we live in. Kofi just moved, but he was also a New Yorker, and we currently live in New Jersey, New York area. I mean, it's right across the water, but it's also just a really cool. This is something that I would have just gotten because it's cool. Let me pull up the screenshot. And this is, don't take this seriously because it's Macari, and so whatever. But yeah,
Oh, you found it.
No.
You
$1,300.
found it.
And who knows? I mean, Macari's whatever. So if you get it from a reputable seller, I'm sure it's 2,000 plus. For like a verified. Like if you bought it from an auction house or whatever, it's going to be expensive. And that's just that is
so
super
crazy.
cool too with the New York shirt. Yeah, that's just awesome.
There's
That's
a whole.
awesome.
Oh man.
I can't really say those words because there's a thing. You learn so much about being, just in any industry that likes to represent regionally. You start to learn about different licenses and how big
Oh
those
my
businesses
word.
are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, since you're on the site, pull up the Spider Woman minifig from Comic-Con.
Keep going about the
sent you
wording though.
both
I think
that
that's
one
interesting.
before.
I don't want to cut you off. I'm gonna look it up right now, but keep talking about
Yeah, so yeah, that whole T-shirt thing on Yoda is a very big business that you kind of learn about when you work here, and you learn how big that business actually is, and like,
Oh no.
Oh
I know
my
it's
god.
incredible.
You didn't overhype this at all.
Share it.
What? Hold on. I have to configure this because it's so
Go
wide.
ahead, and then I'll give you another
Just
one
share your
after this.
screen.
Well, no, sharing the screen is dangerous because it's like,
Oh, that's true.
it doesn't hide like your search bar and some other stuff or whatever. So I always worry about that, but it's fine. We'll just get in the.
Now I want to see your search bar.
Oh, there's nothing important. It's like Restream, our dashboard, eBay, man. But you never know. I always say my wife always gets nervous. I have nothing really crazy on my computer, luckily. I was doing a live recently and we were doing something and talking about stuff, and like my whole desktop got shown like during the live, but luckily it's just folders and stuff like that.
And pictures of you kissing your dog.
That probably a lot of that.
Oh my word.
Yeah, there you go. Wow. $8,000. I let it sink in. Just let that sink in.
And don't quote me on this, and don't hold me to this, anyone in the audience, but I think that the ones at Comic-Con are given out for free.
Yeah.
Or they used to be.
Yeah.
Well, I think so there's people that make a whole, we talked about this. So me at San Diego, me and Yassine went, and like it was day 2. And I was going to say, I don't want to derail this conversation, but I think it's going in a great direction anyway. We're just talking about Lego. So it was day 2, and I kind of came up to Yassine and I was like, I dropped the ball for us. And he's like, what? He's like, and Yassine doesn't care. I mean, like it was more for myself. I was like, I had no idea that there was like a virtual queue to get in to get these Funko cards. So Funko's now making cards, and I was like, I want them. They're super cool. They're a little pricey.
You get like a whole box of them.
Yeah, you get like 20. You get like a full box. It's expensive though, and I also was like, it just, the weight was insane, and so we ended up trying to do it, and it was whatever. But where was I going with this? Oh yeah, all those things. Yeah, that they're part of. It's really hard. There's people have a whole living organizing and figuring how to get all these freebies. Like Kofi was saying, like when we went to and I hope I'm not rambling, I'm being more direct, like you have to be at the right place, the right time, prepare for it. A lot of them are given out during panels. And Tony knows the story. I'm a huge comic book fan, clearly, and I love comics. I'm looking around, there's nothing really whatever. Actually, wait, hold on, I have the comic now. I bought it in the aftermarket. So for D23, there was this is actually a good story. For D23, we were in the Marvel panel, which is, you know, everything you imagine it to be. 1,000 people in there. They show the trailers. They bring out the cast, like whatever. It was a long day. We were tired. And it was like me, my wife, a couple other folks, and our friend King Von Schweetz, who's Jacob is his name. And we all went, had a great time. Came out, we had gotten reservations, or I had gotten reservations +2, and it's a lottery system at a lot of these places. Like you put in what you want for the Spider-Man 60th anniversary panel. Now we came out and we're all kind of like exhausted. It was like a 4-hour panel and we wanted to get something to eat. And so Jacob's like, well, you guys go get something to eat. Do you mind just walking me in with your reservation to the Spider-Man 60th anniversary panel? I was like, cool, sure. Walk him in, goes in. Later on, I'm back at the hotel and I'm scrolling through like Instagram, and someone's like, so excited, I got my 3D23 Amazing Spider-Man 1000 or whatever D23 Expo. And this is actually signed and remarked now. But and I look, and it was a pair of comics, and these are super cool. But I look, they were selling for like, at the time, they've gone down. They were selling for $700 a pop. And you could have got, so like easily you go in there and they're free. These were free. And I texted Jacob and I'm like, did you get a comment? He's like, oh, I got 2. Makes you feel any better? I dropped it in the corner. It's probably been on 1. I was like, doesn't make me feel better. Makes me even more mad that I didn't go in and at least get the comic book and like come out like, and I was like, I can't believe. So
another thing Michael will never not do again.
Yeah. Long story short, it's basically just a long way of explaining that people game this, and Jacob wasn't. Jacob was just like, he wanted to go to the panel, and then he ended up getting a free comic, and I was kicking myself, not Jacob, and I was like, good, enjoy your comics. That's awesome. I think people know, and there's a guy who's really cool. His name's Lex. He goes by Godly Comics. He like will go up. He knows what to do. Like he'll go up and like buy people's copies. So he came back with like 40 copies. He must have paid like $50-$100. Like he just goes in line, like gets them signed, gets them pressed, keeps the highest grade one, sells the rest. Like he is a hustler in the best fashion. And so people like him that are built that way, that know what to do and work the process. Same thing as these minifigs. He probably had to be in Hall H. They gave him out, and some people got rid of them. Some people kept them, and the people who kept them, I'm sure, are like over on cloud 9 now.
Now think of it this way. Also, there are graded minifigs as well.
I didn't even know that. That's incredible. I can tell you, you don't even have to be in Hall H. You just have to go to the Lego booth. And like the Lego, I've never been to Comic-Con. Surprise, surprise. I think the Lego booth is like nowhere usually near like any of like the major like studio booths. So it's just kind of like a kiosk you can like walk up to. There's some years we have stuff that we sell. We'll, you know, bring exclusive stuff, and then we also have like giveaways. So if you want to look up one other thing that'll shock,
I'm always down. I'm always down.
And then we'll go to our segment.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2014, the Andrew Garfield one.
Oh yeah, that's also, there's a Funko that's also worth a lot. That so let me look up. Hold on, I think it's the Amazing Spider-Man.
Yes,
one, right? Yeah.
I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this is nuts.
Well, I also think that makes sense to me from a collector standpoint, because the ones that the Lego art just popped up. How do I find out? Let me just look up Spider-Man. So that movie didn't do well, right? And for me, I know the ones that the natural order of things with collecting, you want to stay away from manufactured scarcity, but things that organically don't do well or that people don't take seriously are worth big money. So like I'm looking it up right now, but I'll tell you the Funko I think is worth a lot. That it's got the yellow eyes. It's like a really important, like I see it all the time. It pops up and people are like, oh, it's the Amazing Spider-Man, because everyone, oh, there's a symbiote one that's worth about $1,000 too. Everyone hated, well, not everyone. There's the diehard fans of Amazing Spider-Man, but I think Spider-Man 2 and other stuff like that, people weren't huge fans of it. And so I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, there it is. Hold on.
Oh my word. I just found it too.
Yeah, hold on. Let me just pull it up. July 2013, right before the first movie. Or that the first or second movie?
I think it might have been the second. I think it rose in value because of them not making a third, and then they kind of shifted towards
okay, I love the fact
Tom
that
Holland.
the site that I'm on has a set pricing thing, and it says very good investment. That's oh my word.
Yeah, I mean,
let me see what you've got, because I'm gonna tell you, I can tell you the price that I've got on mine
right now. It is. They even. I do love how they got the eyes right though, which is really cool. But yeah, there it is.
Okay, let me show you what I've got on here. So the price range that it has gone for, it's telling me what it's been sold for. The lowest price that this was sold for at one time. Well, let me just go this. I'll go with the highest price because you've got the lowest price there. Highest price that it's been sold for was $14,999.
Wow. Wow.
That was eBay. That was eBay. on Bricklink.
Wow.
$21,840.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna spend this one. I mean, again, I'm not gonna spend $1,000 on a minifig, but I think the symbiote one I'm about to pull up is really cool, and it's about a sweet grand.
Listen to this. Basically, this minifig is at least half the price of a low grade Amazing Fantasy 15.
Yeah, it's probably rarer too.
This one is beautiful.
I think that one's really
I would do
cool.
anything to have this one.
That's a cool one. That's a really, and there's some Miles in here. That's not too bad. There's an Iron Spider. There's a lot of really affordable, cool ones. Like this is the danger, right? Oh, there's a Spider-Man 29 that's about $100. I don't want to even touch this stuff because once I start, it will be a major problem that I will not be able to stop. And this is the one that me and Kofi always talk about, the really rare Miles, like he said, it's the Comic-Con exclusive. They probably just hand it out. And Brick Economy is cool because they'll list if it's promotional or not, which is really cool. So if it's promotional, it's like it was like the Yoda. It's part of they weren't sold. It was a giveaway. And that's where the value is really going to be, because it wasn't like a mass produced thing. It was like a part of like, oh, we're excited. You know, when was Miles? It was because Miles is 2011 was his first appearance. 2020? Right. 2020? Oh man.
I wonder if when did Spider-Man PS4 came 2020, right? Or PS5?
Yeah, it's probably for that, yeah, because that's been huge, right?
We did a minifigure for Spider-Man PS4.
That one's worth something too. I was seeing that.
But can we also just appreciate how beautiful these things look? Like, look at this. I mean, this is the Andrew Garfield one. Like, just the packaging itself is just beautiful. Like,
imagine if you had that and you got, so Andrew Garfield just did a signing. If you had that signed, I'm literally having like a seizure here of how excited I am about this. Like,
okay, let's take a breather.
To carry with you, right?
Sorry, no offense to again, I'm not mean by I'm saying it in a very like fun, like this is blowing me away kind of way.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm so excited. Like with every set that I get, like especially when it's got lots of different like actual minifigs, I love just looking at them and putting them in the place. Like even the mystery bag that they did last year for like the Disney Plus stuff, like all of them, just having them all together, and then what they've got out now. Like I don't care if they ever build in value. Just being able to see that I have the roster of them, I'm more addicted to minifigures now than I am to the Hot Toys. Mainly because they're more affordable, but at the same time, just because they're just so uniquely special. Like even to the point of where this one's cool, but then there'll be a fit. Like they'll come out with one at one point, and then like they'll have printing on the legs, which makes it even more valuable, or it's something that's different. Like I'm desperately trying to find. I found a Wolverine minifig in like the stuff that I've got, and it's the kind that has, you can see the mask like laying on the back of the character.
That's cool.
So like, it's Logan's head. Like I really want to find that, but it's like it's just so cool. All of these are so cool.
But this is really cool too. Like, look, that's a gorgeous we're saying a minifig. That is a gorgeous, stunning minifig. And at $5, that's why this will be an issue. If I get into this, it will be an issue. And then the one I really love this one too. It's the Toby from Spider-Man 1. and it's actually cheaper than I thought it would be. It's from clearly from his scene where he creates in the 2002 movie. He creates his own uniform or his own whatever. You can clearly tell it's really well done. It just brings me back to that movie when you look at this, and it's only $150.
Oh,
that's cool. Like it's clearly
that's
from the
so
movie.
cool.
Like, you can tell. And if I click into it, you can see it says 2003 from Spider-Man. That's cool, and that's not even that bad. $150. Like I thought that would be really valuable. Man, it's just so much fun. It's so much fun, man.
But then, like I mean, look, like this. So these came with the Daily Bugle set. So like you saw that Miles Morales. There's one right there.
Yeah,
I love that minifig.
And it's like you got the logo on the back, and then of course they came with the Ghost Spider or Spider Gwen, and they're just really cool. I mean, they're just amazing pieces. Amazing pieces.
Have you looked at since you have the Daily Bugle set? Have you looked at like the Punisher? I think the Doc Ock is a unique one only for that that particular set. I was really impressed with the Daily Bugle set because I was like, the fandom, it was like, yes, you flooded it with a ton of minifigures that and you retroed some of the minifigures. So, and I love that it's modular and it hooks into like any other modular buildings that you have. So I wish I had a place big enough where I could build it and then add like the corner cafe in the movie theater, right? And it's just like, meanwhile, in this perfectly fine town, here's the Daily Bugle and like there's Ghost Rider and like Doc Ock and right, while people are going to the movies next door. It's just like this random superhero battle that's happening.
Or it's not even that, not even the Punisher, but like the Blade minifigure that came with it. Like I was not expecting that.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Punisher. That's I think a cool one. That's a really cool
there's one place where the Blade minifigure is going for like $27. So yeah. So let's go take a quick break. We're gonna go ahead and go through our segment. That way we can just talk and we don't feel guilty because we did a good job with the history, but Mickey's gonna do an even better one with Fandoms University.
What's up to all the fans, geeks, and nerds? Summer break is almost over, and that means Fandoms U is back in session. I'm Professor Cellphone Wallakeys, and if everyone will turn their attention to the board, we'll get started with today's history lesson on LEGO. The company's history dates back all the way to 1932 when Ole Kurt Christensen opened up a carpentry shop in Billund, Denmark. They would primarily produce furniture, but due to a supply shortage, they had to scale down and make wooden toys and miniatures. Christensen would eventually accept the role of toy maker and rename his company LEGO, which is derived from the Danish phrase "leg godt," which means play well. Between the challenges of World War II and a factory fire, LEGO would turn to the development of plastic technologies. They would begin experimenting with new ideas, including building bricks, producing their first set in 1949. And in 1958, the iconic interlocking plastic brick tube technology was patented. This design allowed for more stable and versatile constructions, enabling endless creative possibilities. LEGO would grow rapidly and globally in the 60s, leading to the grand opening of their first theme park, Legoland, and in the 70s they released the LEGO System of Play. System of Play would encourage compatibility between different LEGO themes like LEGO Town, LEGO Castle, and LEGO Space. And in 1978, one of the greatest innovations in LEGO history was introduced, the LEGO minifigure. LEGO would continue to grow at an exponential rate into the 90s, but the patent for their building blocks expired and copycats like Mega Bloks started showing up on shelves. Not only that, video games were starting to cut into profits, leading LEGO to develop Technic and Mindstorms, making them compatible with the rising popularity in robotics, and eventually began collaborating with licensed properties, in particular, Star Wars. But despite its immense popularity, LEGO would go on to face financial difficulties from overexpansion while trying to compete with video games and making poor decisions like Jack Stone and Galador, not to mention experimenting with toys that do not fit in the LEGO system. But there would be a bright spot during this time of turmoil.
Can you find the power? Bionicle. Each set sold separately.
The storytelling and world building of Bionicle would help keep LEGO healthy during this difficult time, but it would not be enough to stop the bleeding of profits. And in 2004, the company would undergo major reconstruction and refocus on its core values of creativity and imagination. Theme parks were sold, manufacturing was simplified, and LEGO City was a return to form.
Hey, what's going on? Quick, build the fire engine and speed to the rescue. Roll out the hose, up the ladder, and put out that fire. The new fire collection from Lego City.
LEGO would learn from Bionicle that storytelling was a big help in selling their product, and originals like Ninjago and LEGO Friends were hits. The LEGO Group would go on to embrace digital technology with their own video games, online communities, mobile apps, and even feature films. Today, LEGO remains a beloved brand, celebrated for its dedication to creativity, imagination, and most importantly, play. Their commitment to quality, innovation, and engaging experiences has allowed them to maintain their status as one of the leading toy manufacturers in the world. And they continue to captivate generations of builders and enthusiasts around the globe. Well, that's it for today's class. I hope you absorbed some of that knowledge, and I really hope you learned something new. I'm Professor Cell Phone Wallet Keys. Remember to read your instruction manuals, have fun, and play for keeps. Have a great one.
I have to ask.
Wow.
When did LEGO decide to target adults? Or at least, where do you think they started with it?
Ooh. Wow.
I mean, if you look at it, I know the Star Wars stuff, it automatically would have targeted adults who love, the franchise. But because I know if you look, there's a lot of 18 plus sets now. There's a whole market it doesn't hide the fact that there are just adults that love the product.
That's a very good question. I mean, I would say
it's a tough one.
I know. I can throw a curveball out there.
I think those kinds of things happen organically.
We've always encouraged family fun and family building, right? Mm-hmm. From the first set on. So you can say from the first set, essentially, we've targeted the entire family unit. Now the adult themes, I don't remember when we started producing them, but I want to say they organically started in the individual themes that they were a part of, right? So we brought up Star Wars, right? At some point there was, a slightly larger, more difficult build for the Millennium Falcon, I want to say, for its time, right? Mm. And that may have pushed some adults to get involved and start playing. And you also have to think about when if you were a child that grew up on Lego 50s, 60s, 70s, and you were an adult in the late 80s, early 90s and on, you probably, even before there was an adult theme, you most likely were nostalgic on some of the sets you were seeing, so you were going back and buying them over, recreating them. Our AFOs, adult fans, a lot of the population are incredibly accomplished in their professional lives, where some of them will go and buy 4 and 5 of the same set that they grew up on just because they want to build out their basement, or it's just incredibly nostalgic, right? Or, they missed that one set as a child and couldn't get it. Now you're talking to, an accomplished surgeon like a Dr. Strange, right? That can afford to buy anything in the world, but has been on this endless hunt for this train from 1973 and comes across it and is like, I don't ever want to lose it again. So I need 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. And it's not, some people buy cars, some people buy homes, some people, buy clothes, some people just collect toys, right? Or things that make them or bring them back to their happy place when they were a child.
So this question, what is a good price piece we should consider nowadays? I used figure 0.10 per core. This, I think you guys understand more as what is that? What, I don't even know what that means. You guys would know more. You guys are
yeah. So I can't really, it's subjective. It's completely up to you and if you find value in the set. Just so to give you some background, it's a lot of people do this calculation where how many total pieces are in the set and what's the cost, and then they divide the cost by the piece, and they get a piece per a price per piece
Okay.
count, right?
Okay.
So, and for some people that utilize this as an avenue to invest, they will say, all right, my baseline is 14 cents. So any set that is above 14 cents that I'm not going to invest in, I think, you should just go with whatever makes you feel comfortable and whatever brings you joy, essentially. If it's worth it to you and it brings you joy, then who cares about the price per piece, essentially?
Yeah. Good point.
And then Eric
And
said,
Right?
Eric
I
has a
mean,
good question, too.
I'm a sneaker collector. There are some sneakers where I don't care how much it costs. I need that in my life. Then there's somewhere I'm like, I don't know about that.
So how long does it take from start to finish to design a Lego
This
set?
is another tough one too, because I'm sure it's like varies.
And this we don't want specifics. You don't have to like give us like an exact like, but like kind of like explain to us the process.
That you can, if you how you can. Yeah.
Sure. So there's a couple of things that factor into it. The first thing is, are we working with partners? Because anything that in any business, right? If you're working with, partners where you have their license and you're working on stuff, it requires another set of their approval, right? And whoever the chain of command is in that organization. For us, development is it's out there. I mean, we can't. It's not something that we turn around overnight, because a lot of it has to deal with quality, and we take especially the quality piece very seriously. And if there's something slightly off, a color, a dye, a paint, or something, we will not put it out until it's right. So it takes some time. I will say it's definitely not 3 months to answer the question.
Okay. And then there was another one that was really good. I love this question too. This is a favorite set or theme. This is going to be a tough one for you. Yeah, because I'm sure it's like asking me if there's a favorite comic book. I'm sure this is like you can go anywhere, but I think that's maybe theme.
So you both know that I do product development. So everyone that I either provide input in on directly for like my remit, my area of responsibility, or even like peers that are on my team that have responsibility for like other areas, other parts of the portfolio that ask my honest opinion because they're not really in tune with that particular theme. They all feel like my child, essentially. Like they do. Like, man, if I will say, yeah. And after we moved, it got destroyed. So the Iron Man one.
Oh no! What about, is this the same one or no? This is the same one, right?
I finally finished it, and it's in like pieces now. So I have to like take time and redo it. The problem is I had no place to hang it either. So because it's like
if you ever need to find storage space, I've got some room here for you.
Well, I put a gorgeous piece. I rented a storage unit. It took me like 8 months to put together because I was very meticulous about piece by piece, a little bit each night. So if there was a set that I felt that is my favorite, I would say not favorite, but like really, really deeply connected to, because it wasn't even something that was in my wheelhouse of responsibility, but like I was asked early on in development, like, hey, need your help. What do you think about this? Because you're really in tune with this. It's the Black Panther bust. I was in the beginning, and I had to answer some very crucial questions about like, are we going to do this with or without this? And so I was just amazed that it came out. And I was like, this is incredible. And I would say definitely
talk about a gorgeous piece. I'm pulling it up right now because I mean people need a visual for this. Like it is, and the amount of pieces too. Like what is it? It's at 3,000 pieces around there, something like that. Yeah.
Just about.
That's a really good question that Erica, we could pivot to, like,
Sure.
how long that takes to build. Because you mentioned the artwork was about 8 months, and you were obviously taking your time and whatever. This one, it's a big, I mean, it's an art piece. Like, it is not insignificant by any means. And that's interesting. If there's like a professional builder out there, and I'm sure there are, I mean, there's Lego Masters, there's things like that. I wonder how long they could build this in. It's got to be at least a handful of hours to get through this.
Easily. I think for art, it's really quick. Actually, it could. Like, when we first introduced Lego art, there were podcasts that went along with it. So, like the Iron Man one, if you're building like one of the two regular Iron Man builds, which is the Hulkbuster is one of them, and then it's just regular Iron Man, and then the secret like third build is the one that I built, which requires you to buy like 4 of the art pieces and put them together. There was a hour and a half podcast where like I think the creator of the set is talking along with some of like the recent Iron Man artists, and you kind of just throw on your headphones and you're listening to like the inspiration of Iron Man behind the set, and when it's done, technically you should be done.
Wow.
Yeah, so that one was near and dear to my heart. There have been others that I've weighed in on, or that I've had responsibility for. There's more stuff that we've said no to, or I vehemently stood up and was like, this can't happen, that are a lot more entertaining. And then there's like really cool stuff that, that came to fruition. Like, I mean, it's been out since January, but the Bionicle GWP, like, when I was in Rome, I asked every meeting we went to, when are we doing Bionicle? When are we doing Bionicle? When are we doing Bionicle? And finally, like, they budged. You were like, we're doing Bionicle. I was like, finally. And I think the most exciting moment of that is like a couple of months later, after GWP was out and it made its way around different fans. I saw a video of like a fan, an AFO online, crying because he was like, they finally did Bionicle. Don't know this person, but I was like, this is why we do what we do. Like, this person was legitimately in tears, and like part of me was like, it's just a GWP, it's just a toy. But then the other part of me was like, I can understand that, right? Because that's how I felt when they had in Endgame, Cap finally picked up Thor's hammer, right? Or when everybody showed up finally, right? Or when Tony sacrificed himself, even though Cap explained to him, in Civil War, you're not the type of person that'll jump on a grenade for everybody, and yet and still
the payoff,
right? Or like when if you're really like into that movie and that world in the 15 years, you realized when they went back to the 70s and met Tony's dad that was going to be it for Tony, because it was like full closure, right? He got to like hug his dad and like really like learn that his dad loves him, and you're like, oh well, that's it. Like, this is the arc that he needed, and like right, this made him instantly a better person. So yeah, we have
Derek, who's our new managing editor, huge Iron Man fan, maybe one of the biggest, maybe the biggest I know, and he does a series called Hall of Armor, and every Monday, and they're really well done. It just kind of details a new Iron Man armor, and one of the things I asked him when we did, I forget, was it his podcast or ours, or you lose track at some point, but I was like, yeah, how was Endgame for you? And he's like, oh yeah, I was a baby weeping. Like, it was, for me, it was like to see your favorite character come to fruition and have that kind of an arc and be played by such a good actor. I can only imagine what it hits you. And I think you had said earlier, I'm so tempted to say one more thing and then I'll shut up. You had said it earlier about why you do what you do. It reminds me, like, again, of peak fandom, right? Like Star Wars, when it's going well, right? Like,
right.
The families and the fathers and daughters and mothers and sons and fathers and sons and whatever, and them, bringing what they loved as a kid or as a adolescent or whatever, and showing it. And so Lego's the same exact thing. I mean, like just the fact that like you said, people are going back and buying the old sets if they can afford it, or if they can't, I'm sure they're still playing with their kids and stuff, and sharing, the passion. And that's why anything should be done, right? Like, I mean, it sounds cheesy, and I feel like as I get older, I'm like Mr. Rogers, but it really is like that's peak life, and it's just awesome.
Yeah. One other thing for you, I would say the most surprising set that I've been asked to weigh in on was the it was from Endgame. It came out after all of our Endgame sets came out. It was the Thor's apartment where they were playing video games, and Mjolnir was on like a pillow, and because that was like one of the things I asked was like,
cool.
If you're gonna do this, we have to keep chubby Thor. Like we can't, like we have to, and like the little like details of like him being overweight is still to this day one of my favorite things I've seen. I was like, I didn't think you guys were actually gonna do this, but this is amazing. So yeah,
that's awesome.
So I think one of the things that doesn't get talked a lot about with Lego, and a lot of people benefit from it, is Lego ideas. And it maybe you can like expand a little bit on it, but from what I understand, it's kind of like a crowd supporting avenue. If you're not familiar with the Hocus Pocus Sanderson sisters house, I believe that was a Lego ideas piece. And there are a lot of Lego ideas stuff out there. If Michael, it'll blow your mind. I'm just looking at this. First of all, there is a Steve Irwin majestic crocodile piece that they're winning. You know what? Listen, I can do this. I don't really care too much. Let's see. I'm gonna share my screen because
some of the stuff you see on Lego ideas is
okay.
I will say for my time, really quick, jump in and I'm out. As far as like not interrupting out, I'm not out of the podcast. Steve Irwin is one of the all-time, and the Royals are up there too. From my time in media, Steve Irwin is a internet god. Like anytime you do something on Bindi or Steve or that family, it moves the needle, and they're so beloved. And so when you said that, I'm not surprised, and that's why I was like, oh,
look at this piece.
So
isn't that beautiful? Like, imagine you have like the crocodile, and you have Steve Irwin holding a crocodile. Like that's just cool. Now, okay, so they've got like the Highland cow, they've got like a rainforest thing. Look at this. Aliens took my cow. Like,
that's awesome.
How fun is this? Tennis match. There's a blacksmith from the Wild West. A really cool ship. But here's the funny thing: Harry Styles, Love on Tour.
Ah.
And if you look on the left-hand side, hold on. So you see there's the Sanderson sisters, BTS Dynamite. These are ones that are completed. I actually saw the Tales of Space, the Tales of the Space Age. I saw that in the store today. So that's always cool. The A-frame cabin. I mean, just like Sequoia Tree Trail. Like just love some amazing stuff. Look
I
at
also
this.
love, and then I want to hear what Kofi has to say. But I also love, and I got to try to find. Oh, it's on TikTok. So you guys talk, and I'll show you a photo. I love when people create. I mean, there are so many talented people out there. I'm gonna have to mute myself so that way, because I'm gonna pull it up on TikTok. There are so many talented people out there, and when people create their own mashup or mix-up of these characters too, and I'm pulling it up too. It's someone took a Batman bust. And for those who don't know, like the Batman Who Laughs, which is like the interpretation, it's kind of like a mix of Joker and Batman. And they created that. I saw it on TikTok the other day, and I was like, this is brilliant. Whoever's doing this, like taking the pieces and refiguring them, like, and doing it really well. Not just like, throwing it together, like something way better than I could do for sure. So yeah, you guys talk amongst yourselves while I find out of this.
Look at this. Like, I really hope this one comes out. Like the desktop rock and roll.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a matter of getting it to 10,000 votes, and there's other stuff that happens behind the scenes. You have to make sure it's viable, like it's stable, in terms of a build and all of that. But yeah, there's some incredibly talented people out there. Really quick, something else that comes to mind that was like an all-time favorite of mine that I was able to weigh in on and help develop, the Blacktron GWP that came out the beginning of this year. So Blacktron was a part of the space theme back when Space first came out, and there was a particular Blacktron. Oh, that's awesome.
So I was wrong. It's not a Batman
Yeah.
bust. It was a Venom bust. And
That's awesome.
they took so for the, again, like I said, the Batman Who Laughed is basically a Joker version of Batman, and it's got his eyes are covered by what you're seeing on screen, basically. And this is not a set. This is someone made this. It's just incredible. Sorry, continue, please. Go.
No, it's okay. That's incredibly awesome. But yeah, so we looked at Blacktron, and it was one of those things in the meeting. I was like, well, sure, we can do Blacktron over, but how can we do something that's just slightly different? Still paying respect to Blacktron, but also not recreating something that we've already put out. And it came to fruition. I was like, oh my God, wow, this is incredible. So like I have those are near and dear, and I keep them close. Like a lot of the GWPs that came out the beginning of this year were stuff that I worked on for a while, so it's fun to see them come out. There's so many stories, toilets in places where they shouldn't be. Like, it's just incredible, like stuff that you just laugh at, and half the time you forget that that stuff is coming out. That's my biggest problem, is walking into a store. I don't know what is supposed to be out, so I'm very guarded when I talk to team members, because I'm like 2-3 years out, and I don't want to step up and say, hey, did you see this? This thing, when is this thing coming? And they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, oh. So I just go, okay. I just look at what's on the shelf, and I'm like, okay.
It's worth mentioning as we, wrap up or whatever, but it's worth mentioning you are really good, and I've been doing it for a long time and working at Lego for a while. You're really good at, it's not protecting the brand, but like keeping, Kofi's the best at, as far as being like, I'm not saying anything. Like, you're really good at knowing. I mean, I love even explaining for those who are watching. Obviously, we have crazy backgrounds. You see there's a shield over Tony's head. I have all this stuff on behind me, and you are in front of a blank wall, because you are very careful not to show anything that isn't for public consumption. And I think that's something that's beyond commendable. Like, you are very careful, and while you can talk about your passions and stuff like that, you never really broach the company's trust, which I think is also something that's important. I feel like I just made a PSA, but
no, but you know what? Also, it also is a curse for him, because anytime I see something online that I feel like is like encroaching like spoiler territory when it comes to stuff coming out or like knockoff, I'm sending him messages at like 3 a.m. like, did you know that they did this knockoff with Millennium Falcon or blah blah blah? And it's like it has to be annoying, but at the same time, it's really I know where it's like, I don't know. I just kind of feel like, when we did an interview with you a long time ago, you could very well tell when we were talking, it was like we had to stop the conversation in certain parts, because you don't want to go there. And I think that speaks a lot to the fact of how much you care about the company and how much you love what you do. And I think, if anything, my takeaway from knowing you has been that there is a lot of people in Lego who love what they do, and you can tell by the products that they put out, because we love them, because it's kind of like it's from fans for fans, and that makes a big deal.
Thank you. Yeah, I enjoy what I do. I've been plenty of other places where, the brand was big, wasn't always cracked up to be what people thought. And I finally found the place where it's like, oh wow, the brand is big and they actually do what they say. So how do you not mess this up?
Yeah.
Right. It's crazy to me that there's stuff that we have that leaks all the time, and we joke about it. I joke about it with you guys in a very careful way, as you mentioned. And sometimes I see some of that stuff, and I'm like, some of this stuff, like, there's somebody that is like we will have product presentations that are done on like a Tuesday, and there's a leak on a Wednesday to a YouTuber, and I'm like, this was like, you're talking about functionality for 3 years from now. Like, how does this person, only people in the company know this? So and I say that to say, like, do you not like your job? Like what?
Yeah,
Like, is the
it's not
clout
worth the
worth
risk.
it that much? Like, there's no way. Like,
It's not worth the risk.
I always thought of like, I mean, look how beautiful this thing.
I know you didn't put you uploaded the photo, but you didn't put up, and I'm like,
Yeah, because we were told we skimmed past it, but like
gorgeous.
you can't
It's just
you
gorgeous.
can't see the love like in this. Yes, is it a cash cow? Yes, you can make lots of money off of this, but these are just beautiful pieces that you can have fun with and just spark imagination. And I'll tell you right now, through this whole year, one of the things that I've enjoyed doing is getting down with my son and putting Legos together or playing or him coming down here and stealing Legos from the bin or Lego bricks from the bin. People are so purist, they say don't say Legos, but it's been one of those things where, yes, you said it earlier, it's for the family. It means so much to us, and it's helped us. So yeah, I just can't imagine somebody not loving it.
Question for you: what does he think of Sonic? Because I played with it a couple of years ago. We'll just say that, and it was still in its. I mean, it was it was more of the cosmetic finishing that needed to do, and we thought it was fun. We played with a couple of our customers in the showroom, but I haven't had a chance to actually like get children's feedback on it. Yeah.
I'm going to be honest.
Sure.
Be very honest. We absolutely love it. The only thing I would say is like in the mindset of it would be really cool. I think this is where we've got some like brick plates behind us, like putting the sets on like brick plates that would meet the length of it. Because like a lot of times, like my son plays with it on the floor or we were on the floor building it. And so if it's just one layer, it kind of falls apart, but putting it on a table and stuff, it's always seems like that's like the preferred way to play with Lego. But absolutely love it. Like I will say we loved the Robotnik or Eggman in the first set that came out last year, the collector set that was like $79. But for whatever reason, the one in this set was so much cooler. And it's kind of just fun how even the hovercraft like comes off of the legs, and you've got there's so many little Easter eggs. Like there's the chili dog and the grill, and you've got the different like robots, and you've got the little POW box there, for speed, and then you've got like all the little like the animals, because whenever you destroy a robot, it's supposed to have an animal that comes out of it, and all of them have little animals with them that when you knock them over, which is how the set's designed, they knock over and the animal falls out, which is perfect. It's absolutely perfect.
Awesome.
I have one question before we wrap. I mean, we're a little over an hour, so but you might not know, you might know, but I didn't know what the theme was. So this wasn't just Lego. It was a theme that we saw at San Diego this year, and I pulled up a photo for those that weren't there. We had such a cool installation, a throwback to Blockbuster, obviously, with Lego, and I showed a little bit of the Sonic build that was on display. Incredibly cool. Was there a tie to the Blockbuster? Because Funko did it as well. So there was Funkoville that was at San Diego Comic-Con as well. So you had Lego, which was obviously a huge attraction, and they had the Brickbuster video, and then Funkoville was like a whole corner with like Loungefly Funko and things like that, and they had their own like Funko Blockbuster, Rewind or whatever. And I was like, wait, is there like a theme? Like, what's going on? Like, I don't know if that was just a coincidence. There was actually an actual like thing that was going on currently with the timing or whatever. I didn't know if there was like some special thing.
I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, I can ask. It's interesting because that showed up as a surprise, believe it or not. I was talking to some of the model builders, or I think they're still called master builders at this point, because they sit in at least for the Americas, they sit in our office back in Connecticut, and it's one of those things where I have badge access, so I can just like walk into their shop and like chit chat with them.
That's so
like
cool.
One of them actually, if you remember Comic-Con there was an Aquaman set that was released at Comic-Con like a couple of years ago. I know the guy that actually like like Diddy. He like sits in that room, but he's incredibly awesome. We play basketball and all that. He's like incredibly awesome and hilarious. Um, they said that they were working on something and they were being really cagey with me, which is awesome because I like when they're cagey because it's like, yeah. But I didn't know it was going to be this, so I don't. That's more of a marketing question. I'm sure if it's more than one company doing something blockbuster related, but even then, for us to even get the blockbuster name, there had to be some type of conversation with because even if the name was free use right now, what would be the point in any established company? What would be the point in Mattel if they did it just utilizing the blockbuster name if it's dead and gone and not popular anymore? Right, for a random like pop-up. So
I was a little curious because like there had been like some, like we reported on it a couple months ago where like the Blockbuster website was back up and running and it was like teasing something, and we didn't know if with Funko, with you guys, like if there was something like maybe it was just teasing San Diego Comic-Con or something, but you know, it was kind of curious, but loved it. I loved all the covers, seeing from other people's pictures.
yeah, no, it was really awesome. Actually, Mike, if you have a second, you can go to your browser. If you pull up the Iron Man statue, Infinity Gauntlet statue, and the Infinity Stone statue from Comic-Con,
oh
the
man,
year of in-game. So I wasn't in my product development role, but like I was like one of like a handful of people leading up to, you know, like since I joined the company in 2016, leading up to in game, I was like we'd have like these huddles on the other side of the business, or the B2B side of the business, where we talk about like performance or whatever, like in large auditorium. And I was the one that's constantly chiming in, like, "Hey, Black Panther's gonna be a big deal. Black Panther's gonna be a big deal." And then I see Civil War's gonna be a big deal. It's gonna do this. So, one of our account reps wanted to make a splash at Comic Con, and he asked me. He said,
pulling
"Hey,
it up
if
now.
you had an opportunity to do one statue at Comic Con, what would you do?" And he was like, "Would you do like shield and holding the hammer, or what would you do?" And I was like, no. And I caught flack for this from people. Because I guess at that time, surprisingly, Comic-Con is in August, right? People hadn't seen Endgame yet. There were still people that hadn't seen Endgame. So I was like, you need to do Iron Man with the Infinity Stones. And he was like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is the greatest thing you can do." And I was like, "It needs to be the right. It needs to be the right armor."
That is cool.
Thanks. And so many people, when I told people about this, they're like, "You ruined the movie for me. I hadn't seen it yet, and now I know that Iron Man gets the Infinity Gauntlet." And I'm just like, it's August. This is the biggest movie in the history of cinema. You didn't see it the first weekend, the second weekend. I said, by August, I had seen it 12 times. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah,
like, what's taking
come
you
on,
so long.
come on. Like,
let's face it. By the time San Diego Comic-Con came out, they already had trailers for Far From Home coming out, and there were issues.
Right.
So you know,
and apparently that lights up. And
oh, come on.
Can we ask, where is this now?
I have zero clue. It's probably in our warehouse somewhere. Or, it's probably in our warehouse.
I just hope it's not destroyed or decommissioned, because that's beautiful.
Where is this warehouse, and what kind of security do they have?
Yeah. we have our statues, you know, they have like a path that they follow. Depending on where they need to make appearances and like where we need to store them and all of that. But that was definitely something that was near and dear to my heart. There's some really cool stuff coming. I can't really talk about it, but I saw some stuff that leaked and I was like, oh, okay, we did this. And then sometimes I'm surprised with other stuff. There's, you know, really cool, you know, other like potential like collaborations and stuff. But you know, that stuff, you know, comes and goes. So it's fun to be there for the ride and weigh in when you get asked, or even within what I do for product development. Like I've got some really cool stuff that should be really enticing to people coming up. So
Mhm.
never a dull day.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
And this is why Nerd Initiative will never be doing Lego leaks, because it would be too identifiable being friends with you. We would never want to put you in that position. But again, thank you so much for being on here. This has been
so good.
so good. Like we need to do this again, where we just go through and just talk about the most expensive Lego sets. And
that would be the
we have
Death
a
Star.
Mickey's. We have a collector show probably that we're considering in the works, and
Oh, cool.
I think that is part of it. Like that, I think would be a blast too. It's aspirational, but it's also just cool to the story behind it. You know, whatever it is, why it's valuable, why it's rare, where it came from. I live for that stuff, right? Even stuff that I'll never own, right? Like, you know, like stuff that there's no way I'll ever own a Batman 1 or Tech 27 or Action 1, but like knowing the stories of how it changes hands and all that stuff like that, and with Lego too, like it's awesome. Sorry, I interrupted. Sorry.
No, it's totally cool. I was gonna say it's potentially, I think it's a Death Star. Do you guys remember the UCS theme? Or we kind of dabble in it every once in a while. So we have like the Ultimate Collector's Edition, like Millennium Falcon. But do you remember the original ones that were like big enough to just fit on your desk?
Mm-hmm.
If you go to eBay, the Death Star 2, I believe, the desk version was like, it's like $14,000 or something like that. It's crazy.
Wow. See, I got this. This is a UCS Slave 1. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Actually, I moved Groot off of my desk so that I could at least have it behind me during this.
Oh yeah, hold on. So there's a thing called eCrater. I guess it's kind of like an eBay but different. So they have it for it's a a penny pinching $5,000 for this one, which is, and who knows? I don't know what eCrater is, so I don't know if I trust it, but also is really a beautiful. That now that, and I'm seeing the other one, I kind of want to get the other, and there's also a mini one. It's almost like kind of like a bust. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna shut up. Let me pull this up real quick. Where is this? I have so many screenshots now that I can't even find what I'm looking for. Oh, there's right here. There it is.
It's just incredible. Like what? Yeah, that's it.
That's so
cool.
That was $5,000 on whatever that site was, eCrater. I've never heard of it, but man, wow, just wow.
Really quick, other thing for you, Mike. I was happy with the Wolverine, but I was happy with the call out on the box. Yeah, X-Men 97. Like I was like a kid in the candy. I was like, we did it! It's X-Men 97. This is perfect. This is so nostalgic. Yeah, so. You know, every once in a while we do something really cool that like just rings all the bells. It's kind of like in the last Doctor Strange movie when Professor Xavier rolls out and like the X-Men theme plays, and it's just like they get it, they finally did it. Right, it pays off. So
yeah, and hopefully we'll get. I know we're with the mystery minifigs. We're getting what was it, Wolverine and Storm. Those are coming out.
You're getting yes.
Well, those are already out. I've already seen those, and like some people are buying them in the stores. I'm not going to say anything else. Like, but
that's fine. Yeah. I mean, I think they'll be out like officially soon. But there's my recommendation, and this isn't me shilling the company. So I'm taking myself out of the company for a second. I would probably try and collect all of those minifigures because there's something incredibly cool that you can do once you collect all of the minifigures.
No, I think I know what it is, and I don't want to even lead into that territory, but the first thing I thought of was like, wait a second. Can I just say it?
No.
And don't react or
don't blink. Don't blink. Just sit still. Michael, I need to hear it.
I'm just going to shut my eyes.
You could build a Sentinel, can't you? That's my thought. It builds and it forms into a Sentinel. But I could be completely off. But that was my first thought immediately when he said that. I was like, it comes together and it makes a Sentinel. But I could be wrong.
I think the like so each one of the, because I know like with the ones from the last series, they all had pieces that kind of accompanied. So like Loki had the alligator Loki, you know, and stuff like that. So there's always something that kind of accompanied them. I know the Wolverine has like a sentinel head with it, I believe. So
Yeah, I
it'd be
think
cool.
he does.
And I swear I didn't
I've
research
seen
that.
that
I swear I didn't look at it. I just thought that's the first thing that came to my head was like, what's big and blocky that you could kind of unite other ones and make it? And I was like, you can build a Sentinel. Like, I also have seen like all those Marvel Legends ones that you can have the Build-A-Figures and stuff like that. Those are really cool. So I like.
Do they ever have like a figure that's like worthwhile though? Like I remember one I think had like the pieces to Apocalypse, and like Apocalypse should be a figure, not like something that you just
Yeah,
like
you should.
collect, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah, yeah. So like we're talking about the Legends. So like the Guardians of the Galaxy one was Cosmo. Like it should have been Groot. Like if you're gonna do something big, make it be no wait.
that would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was like, you know, you kind of wonder like where they picked the. I think I was at
Or like the
at
Heads of
Ollie's.
Nowhere or something.
Yes. Let me tell you. Okay, let me just tell you something. I'm gonna speak it out in the ether because I said this to you in a text message once. And if I have to like figure out how to throw it up on Lego Ideas, I will. There needs to be a Lego Nowhere. There has there.
Oh yeah.
Listen. I would sell my kidney. I would sell my kidney and go on permanent dialysis just so I could get this.
So I agree with you. And I don't know why we haven't done it yet. Sometimes like partners will just say no, you can't do it. You know.
That's fair.
And like sometimes from that you realize that like they're probably doing something with that property, and they don't want to show the way the property looked before, right? They kind of want people to flush out their memories of like the first superheroes movie that's ever come out. That was good in recent time, and just kind of wash it away and let it go. And then the next time you see something non-movie related to it, it's of the new after the movie has come out, or show, or whatever they could be cooking up in that magical place. So yeah, I maybe no, and I don't know anything. Like I'm not in like that conversation with, you know, Disney or Marvel, but maybe Nowhere is like going to be used to form Galactus somehow or something, right? So maybe that's why nobody.
I want it so bad. Like even to the point, like if there was someone out there that even just made up like their own like
it'd make a really good Lego art piece.
Absolutely
like
would. With a cannon coming out of the eye, and you open it up, and it's got like little houses and stuff, and
so they
like it could be such a cool thing.
I had to contact us up there. I'm going to take it down so we can talk. But we can talk about this now because it's out. Like so, the Spider-Man art is already out and on sale, where he's kind of crawling out of the frame, and which is really cool.
Beautiful.
What would be also really cool? You speak of Galactus. Like so I'm looking at. I have a Clayton Crane. Like a lenticular lens Silver Surfer, a Galactus where the hands coming out a little bit and the surfer's on his hands, and it's like it's so raised off the art. That would be
that's fantastic.
Like he's like, you know, kind of like the Funko. Like I'm looking at the Jumbo Funko where he's got his hand and yeah. And I'm picturing that in a frame where it's like Silver Surfer's flying out of the art. That'd be so dope.
When I saw Spider-Man a few years ago, I immediately was like, that's incredible. It'd be really cool to do like Venom's mouth open and like his tongue coming out of the frame like towards you, essentially, right? So like the borders of like 90% of the borders are made up of like his mouth and razor teeth and like his articulated tongue coming out at you. So who knows? Maybe we'll see it. I haven't mentioned it to like anyone that can get it done, but like that would be incredibly awesome for us to do something like that.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, yeah.
What I would close with, whoever is out there, and we're starting to dwindle down because it's getting late, but whoever is out there doing, did I delete it already? Who's doing stuff like the Batman Who Laughed? I took it down already, but whoever's doing stuff like that, I challenge and task you. What we need is a bust or like a Black Panther figure where it's Venom, but It's the scene where Spider-Man's coming out.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he's pulling the.
So we got Spider-Man underneath, and he's ripping the venom out. That would be incredible. Like the red's popping out, and you got the black, and he's peeling out the symbiote. That would be amazing. And I feel like it's something that, like, right now, it's gonna take someone who's like a talented builder out there to be like, challenge accepted. So if anyone's watching,
really anything that comes out that's Marvel, you guys should do.
You know who? Have you ever seen? You've heard of Justin Sawyer, right? He was like one of our brick artists. He created the art piece where it's the yellow figure that's ripping the chest open. Like
library,
that seems like right up the like he just has to shift it a tad bit, right, and add some color to it, and it's done.
That would be so cool. That would be so cool. All right, I'm done. All right, we better wrap. It's
yeah.
All
right. Well, Kofi, thank you again so much for joining us. We will definitely be doing this again, and hopefully we can keep it under more control. But I doubt it because it's Lego and we all love it. But again. Everyone, thank you for joining us. If you're watching this after the fact, again, be sure, if you love Lego and you love seeing new things with Lego, be also sure to check out the Lego Ideas website. You can always vote on supporting different things and see more stuff going on. Be sure to check out our newsletter. You can hit the contact us there and be able to join our newsletter, see what's going on, the other properties that we have. And of course, the last thing we need to do, because we need to keep the lights on, make sure you're checking out our merch store. And of course, with that said, have a wonderful night and thank you. Oh, Spidey Venom Cheese too, yes. All right. Have a great night, everybody.